Chop, the original Guillotine League podcast. Everything you need to know to avoid the chopping block. Chop is brought to you by GuillotineLeagues.com. Now, your host, Paul Charchian.
Welcome to Chop, the Guillotine League podcast. It is a Tuesday edition, and that means we are breaking down waiver wire advice with my man, Brian Johnson. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you here. And what are you wearing?
For those who can't see, it's somewhat of a statement piece. We'll say it's a backward Sam Darnold Vikings jersey, and it's not comfortable to wear.
It's not, well, and the
I'm
reason you're wearing it backwards is because if you'd worn it forwards, nobody would know what 14 on the Vikings was. They've already forgotten. And is that why you're wearing it back in the front?
Well, I mean, there is a pretty famous 14, other than Sam Darnold. He performed a miracle in Minneapolis.
Oh, Stephon Diggs. Yeah.
Isn't Wentz wearing 14 now? Or no, he's 11. I think he's wearing he's wearing Culpepper's number. I was like, Wentz is wearing Culpepper's number. Culpepper. Fantasy Hall of Famer. Speaking of, I don't want to hijack the convo here. I think we got to pay our respects to somewhat of a Fantasy Hall of Famer. He was for a minute or two. Rudy Johnson passed away, if you did not hear that.
Rudy Johnson, the Bengals running back. He had a couple of really good years.
Pro Bowl caliber seasons in the early 2000s. And we were both definitely playing fantasy football then. But I was sad to hear Rudy. He was a waiver wire darling. Like he was a league winner type guy. Came out of nowhere. RUDI, for those who don't know either.
Yes. I want to say undrafted or late round guy, totally off radar, and ended up getting the starting job for the Bengals, held it for a while. And I'm starting to feel old when guys that I covered professionally are dying. And that is not that it's all about me, but in this case, that does give you a moment of reflection. I can tell you that much. And speaking of things not going well, and I guess, not as bad as death, but the death of many Guillotine League teams, that's for sure. CeeDee Lamb, Najee Harris, James Conner, Tyrone Tracy, all epic
Malik
injuries with massive guillotine ramifications, Brian. And, we all know injuries are just part of football, and we accept that injuries are going to play a role in the outcome of our Guillotine Leagues. But this is the biggest X factor to me in Guillotine Leagues because it's so hard to predict injury. I mean, you could look at Conner and go, well, okay, Conner was a much older back, and maybe it was a running back, but
he's been durable.
Tyrone Tracy's a young back. Najee Harris is a middle-aged back. I think this is where luck still plays a role in fantasy football and Guillotine Leagues.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Luck is even more important in Guillotine League because you can recover from bad luck in the weeks coming. But if you have bad luck in 1 week, your season's over. And it's unfortunate, but the nature of the beast, what can you say? And man, some guys that had good games got hurt. Mike Evans, he's going to miss multiple weeks now.
Yep.
Makes me sad about Jalen McMillan. I had so much Jalen. He would be smashing right now with.
He would be.
In the same vein of Mike Evans, sort of. I had a sort of fun topic before we get into the players about emerging end game players. You know what I'm saying? Like guys that we didn't expect to be, but are. And Emeka Egbuka is one for sure, I think.
Yeah, he is turning into an end game player. You're right about that. And by the way, speaking of end game players, I've started to hear other people doing guillotine contact referring to our phrase end game. It just feels good to, know that we're still the standard bearer for a lot of this stuff. And we get to invent some of the terms, which is great, like end game and, getting end game players, just critical. If you're going to be spending money, you want to spend on end game players if you can. And
what about
you
his
mentioned that
Baker Mayfield, real quick, end game quarterback looking like right now, maybe.
He was last year.
If Evans and Godwin
definitely was last year.
Anyway.
So here's where the injury part with Guillotine Leagues works both ways, Brian. On one hand, yes, if CeeDee Lamb goes down early in a game and you get no points, that completely sucks for your Guillotine League. But the other side of that is if you survive, you can recover from it in a Guillotine League better than you can in any other format because you can buy your way out of the problem. You can't do that in any other format. So if you can just get through that Najee Harris, James Conner, Tyrone Tracy injury, live to see one more week, you can go spend money to fill that hole if you need to. And so for those of you that did have some kind of significant injury problem, and I'm glad you brought up Mike Evans into this conversation too, because he ended up with a good stat line, but will not be available for a while. You need to decide, okay, do my backup player or players, are they going to get me 10 PPR points? I mean, can they just save me from being second to last or better? And if the answer is no, then go ahead and spend. I mean, sure, none of us want to spend in week 3 heading into week 4, but if you stubbornly refuse to at the same time, I think that's a worse decision. And Brian, nobody likes to spend FAAB early less than you do. But if you've got a CD-sized hole in your roster and your backup is Michael Wilson, well, I think it's time where you need to spend some money and just live to play a few more weeks.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, especially with a guy like CeeDee Lamb. I will say, though, if you lose a CeeDee Lamb caliber player, you don't have to replace CeeDee Lamb with someone of CeeDee Lamb's ilk.
Yeah.
Analyze your roster. You might have Emeka Egbuka, who you got later in the draft, or Jordan Mason, who's looking like a stud right now. So you just need, again, really 10 PPR points. And of course, CeeDee Lamb could have gotten you many more PPR points most days. Yes. But for right now, you don't need to replace. You don't have to go eye for an eye. You don't have to go Hammurabi's code on this. So, but yeah, it's
nice.
It's really, it's the same old song and dance for me. I'm only spending to replace a huge hole, and CeeDee Lamb is about as big as it gets. But yes, but don't go crazy. Don't panic just because you lost CeeDee Lamb. You just have to come not in last. By the way, did you see that show on Fox after the football ended on Sunday?
No.
It's like a Hunger Games ripoff, but also like a Guillotine Leagues ripoff, where it's like, just don't come in last. And they have him doing this, or not Hunger Games, Squid Game. It's like total Squid Game. Anyway, it's like a Guillotine League. It's like a don't come in last thing, but that's all you got to do. So you don't have to come in first. Don't come in last.
Don't come in last. I think the best point you just raised, you don't have to replace CeeDee Lamb with a CeeDee Lamb caliber player. You can replace CeeDee Lamb with somebody who can get you 10, 12, 14 PPR points, enough to just stay alive. And that's probably going to be okay. But let's talk about some broad bidding strategies. We don't know everybody who's available in your league. Obviously, your league is totally unique. We will be talking about the 10 most chopped players, and we'll go through exact bidding advice for those 10. But for everybody else, Brian, as we say every week, we're at a stage of the season where we're paying for elite players, like first and second round draft pick style players. If you were drafting today, we're maxing out at around $200 on those bids. You could go a little more if you're desperate. Preferably you go less, but don't, generally we don't spend that much. Most elite players go for about double that cost. You probably won't get elite players at $200, but that's what we would spend here on the show. Middle tier players, Brian and I are generally in the $10 to $20 range, but you still need to be careful, because if you're throwing down $20 twice a week, you start running out of money. And these are middle tier guys that aren't end game players. And you do that a bunch of times, and now you've short suited yourself. So you have to be careful there. And then low tier players are $0 to $5 for, guys you're going to help out during a bye week. And by the way, we've got bye weeks looming, coming as early as the week after this one. And so bye weeks getting on your radar right now. So bye week helpers, short-term helpers due to injury, stuff like that, $1 to $5.
No doubt. Yeah, we got to start factoring bye weeks at this point when you're bidding, because, like you said, starting next week, off the top of my head, I know Vikings. Who else is on? It doesn't matter. We'll get to that when we get to it.
Yes. I think the Vikings are week 6. Week 5 is right. I think that is not Vikings, but that is coming up after this weekend.
I should know. I used to know them all, and I already.
Yeah, you had like a week ago. You had them all. You were like,
well, then I
challenge you to give me a bye week. Any team, I'll give you the bye week.
Then draft season ends, and it's just like, gone. It's all gone.
Gone. You ejected.
Chicago has a week 5 bye. Chicago has a week 5 bye.
Yes, they do.
I know that,
but they're not alone, because there's got to be.
There's only one or two. Teams. It's not a lot, but yeah. We'll unearth
there can't
them.
be one team on bye.
No, the one or two more in addition to Chicago.
I think can't be 3 teams either. Just saying. Can't be an odd number of teams on bye week. Let's go through our 10 most chopped players. And it is some big names. Big names. And These 10 most chopped players are brought to you by Xfinity, introducing the 5-year price guarantee. One consistent internet price for the next 5 years, guaranteed by Xfinity. All right, Brian, the 10th most chopped player. Chargers wide receiver Ladd McConkey, a 10.6% chop rate, a utilization score way down at 61 out of 100. The upcoming schedule, Jacksonville at home, then travel to the Rams, which is tough, and then at Tampa Bay. Last week's median price for Ladd McConkey was around $200. Not around, it was a round number, $200. So let me start here, Brian, because I sat on this one for a long time. Is Ladd McConkey an end game player in your mind?
He was last year.
Yes.
You mentioned the utilization. Before I get into that, week 12 bye. I know that for the Chargers, so we're not factoring buys right now.
Well done.
I do know that one, but the utilization is down, and it's quite evident that it's Keenan Allen is the problem here, and
Quentin Johnston,
yeah, for sure. But Keenan Allen, oh my goodness, he guy timeless. But anyway, the utilization is down, but the underlying metrics are actually very good for Ladd. They're better than last year. His average separation score and his route win rate are up from last season. But again, it's just Keenan Allen is there now, and Quentin Johnson is a problem. So Justin Herbert, the Chargers are supposed to run all day, every day, right? He leads the NFL in passing yards right now. So I'm still interested in Ladd McConkey, but I don't, as of right now, with Keenan Allen playing the way he is, I don't think Ladd is a end game player, but you can ride him pretty much up until the playoffs, and then you see what happens with them. So I'll be aggressive on Ladd. And people are down on him. Everyone's talking about Keenan Allen, really. So I think I bid, this is high for me, 110 on Ladd, and you might get him for that. I think that's a steal. I'm still a believer. I'm still a big believer in McConkey. He's elite.
Get this. Here's why I'm concerned, and I'm not getting near your bidding on this. Ladd ranks third on the team in all of these critical categories: utilization score, targets, target percentage, air yards, end zone targets. He has no end zone target, and PPR points scored. Obviously, Ladd McConkey is a really good player, and he's going to have good games. I worry that those good games are going to be hard to predict and infrequent. So that's my concern on Ladd McConkey, and why I am only bidding $60 on him, because this is a format that craves consistent production. I don't know that we're going to get consistent production, unfortunately, out of him. Let me do a quick cleanup on this, and tip of the hat to producer Matt LaMarca. I gave the wrong schedule for Ladd McConkey. It is at the Giants, then hosting Washington, and at Miami. That is the at Giants and at Miami are wonderfully favorable. So we like that part quite a bit.
The bye week was correct, though. Yeah. I did get the bye week right.
Nicely done on the bye week. Thank you. Yes,
can I just sit on Ladd? Yes. I mean, I might be overpaying, but I'm not paying for his consistent ceiling production, which we got a lot last year. I still think we're going to get that 10-point PPR floor almost every week. So that's very, very valuable in and of itself, as you know. But anyway,
yes. And Matt helping us out with the four teams on bye coming up in week number 5: Falcons, Bears, Packers, Steelers. Falcons, Bears, Packers, Steelers coming up with
Falcons
those bye weeks.
Need a bye real bad. They may need a bye for the rest of the season.
What a baffling loss that was. And it wasn't like Bryce Young was amazing, Chuba Hubbard was amazing. It's just the Falcons gave that game away. Unbelievable. All right, let's go to our 9th most chopped player. This one stings. Cincinnati running back Chase Brown, a 10.8% chop rate. His utilization score of 72 out of 100, lower than I would have guessed. Here's his upcoming schedule, presumably correct: at Denver, Detroit, and at Green Bay. Last week's median price was way up at $225 for Chase Brown. I would have been tempted to pay that a week ago, but we're not paying that much now for Chase Brown. Not after we saw last week. I'll let you go first. I've got a specific area that I want to talk about relative to Chase Brown's struggles through 3 weeks, but I will yield to you first, Brian. What do you think about Chase Brown, and how many dollars you putting out there?
I hope I don't mow your lawn, because I have really one thing to say about Chase Brown on top of his the brutal schedule coming up that you mentioned, correctly mentioned, by the way. I did check for you.
Thank you.
Chase Brown, 47 carries for 93 rushing yards this year. That's it. He has negative 54 yards before contact. So
unbelievable. Yep.
No help whatsoever. I mean, you can't fault the guy, really. He has no chance. Obviously, Joe Burrow on the shelf pretty much the whole season. I can't have much faith in this offense. We both love Chase Brown going into the year, but I don't even. I mean, I'd roster him, but I'm not going to be aggressive on my Chase Brown bid at all. It'll be $25.
I entered the season really excited about Chase Brown, and I thought the Bengals offensive line would be just good enough. It turns out this offensive line for the Bengals is awful and probably the league's worst. You mentioned the negative yards before contact. Chase Brown is seeing the fewest yards before contact, negative 0.06 yards before contact. That was Ashton Jeanty last week. He got a little bit better. Only Ashton Jeanty is the only other runner seeing negative yards before contact. PFF ranks the Bengals offensive line dead last in run blocking. And the only advantage of this schedule is Denver's coming up. Nobody can pass on Denver. They don't try very much. So there's usually a lot of running against Denver, but I can't anymore. I can't call Chase Brown an end game player in the current state of the Browns offense. And I've only got a $50 bid on Chase Brown as a flex level player on your Guillotine League team. Brian, let's go to the 8th most chopped player, and that is Kansas City tight end Travis Kelce. Utilization score of just down to 66. The upcoming schedule, Baltimore. That's always epic matchup. Chiefs versus Ravens. Then at Jacksonville and then Detroit. Last week's median price for Travis Kelce was $75. Last year, Brian, Travis Kelce was the most chopped tight end, and he's picking up right where you left off.
$75. Oh my God. That's I'm sorry, but that's awful to hear. That hurts my heart to hear that people are bidding that much money on Travis Kelce, who since 2018, his ADOT, average depth of target, has literally declined year over year. In 2018, it was at 9.2 yards. Then it went to 9, 8.5, 7.4, 7.1, 6.7, 6.4 last year. So far this year, he's down a full yard, which is a lot, to 5.4. Anyone could see 4 beers deep on the couch Sunday night. I could. Noah Gray looked way better than Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
And I'm probably lying about the amount of beers, but anyway,
yeah, it was 8. That's okay. You can just acknowledge.
Yeah, it's probably more. I probably had more beers and catches than Kelce has on the season. But anyway, I'm not saying he's not rosterable, but I don't even think you trust starting him right now. With Noah Gray was better. I mean, they're going to run 2 tight end sets, but $10 on Kelce, and I feel gross paying that. I'm going to ask Taylor $10 my money back.
Yeah. $10 as a backup. He's my backup tight end now. You hit on a lot of my talking points. Get this. For this, think about this format specifically, where we always talk about we're just trying to get to 10 PPR points. In Travis Kelce's last 22 games, he's been a single-digit PPR fantasy producer in half of them. Half of his last 22. And get this, Brian. Travis Kelce's pass protection, he is PFF's 58th ranked tight end in pass protection, second to last behind a rookie tight end, Mason Taylor. That's it. That is, if he can't pass block, and they're having all kinds of struggles with pass blocking across their offensive line right now, and Patrick Mahomes is having to do all the crazy stuff that he does to extend plays, his playing time is going to continue to wither, and we're going to see more of Noah Gray. You can make a case right now that Noah Gray, this feels like a Fantasy Football Weekly tough question coming up. Who will score more fantasy points? I'll ask this of you right now, Brian. Who will score more fantasy points from this point going forward? Travis Kelce or Noah Gray?
I mean, it's a coin flip, but I would have to say Noah Gray, unless we need like Taylor Swift to dump Travis Kelce, and we need like that vengeance. We need him dressing like a 16-year-old drug dealer again. We need those days of Travis Kelce back, not dressed like he's going to play croquet for Sunday. Kelce's got no dog in him, so I go Noah Gray. It's over.
I like, I don't take any pleasure in saying it, but I think it's a Hall of Fame career for Travis Kelce.
Oh,
seventh,
of course.
Yeah, seventh most chop player. Baltimore wide receiver Zay Flowers. That's a 12% chop rate. Utilization score of 71 out of 100, which is pretty good. The upcoming schedule at Kansas City, Houston. Those are three tough matchups. At Kansas City, Houston, and the Rams. All good pass defense teams. Last week's median price on Zay Flowers was $150. I struggled on whether or not Zay Flowers is an end game player because through 2 weeks, he looked like he absolutely was. And then last week, some of the same problems that he faced in previous seasons where the ball just doesn't come to Zay Flowers sometimes emerged last week. What are your thoughts on Zay Flowers as a potential end game player, Brian?
Like you said, performed like one in weeks 1 and 2. I still wasn't convinced he was one just because Baltimore doesn't throw a ton, but they're probably going to have to start throwing a lot more because their defense is awful.
Shockingly bad.
And be more, but Detroit. I think they made an effort to take Zay Flowers out of the game, and Rashad Bateman stepped up. So hopefully, other teams will not do that as much. But like you said, it's a tough schedule moving forward. But I think the Ravens will be forced to throw more, but man, Zay still kind of got that spike week, stigma to him. It makes me very nervous. I'm not bidding anywhere near $150. That's for sure. I'll bid. I still like him. He's a great player. Got the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. Throw him to him. $30 on Zay.
$30 on Zay Flowers. I'm a little higher than you. I'm $45 on Zay Flowers, and I think I'm pretty happy to pay the $45. You hit the nail on the head. Some games you just don't get enough targets, but man, he's really good. Zay Flowers is the only real game changer they have in that passing game. I really think Todd Monken is generally going to get the ball to him, and I don't know. The schedule though is really that changed a lot of my thinking. I don't love the matchups here, Kansas City, Houston, and the Rams. So I think 45 is as high as I can go. I like Zay Flowers. I've got him rostered a bunch, but there is some danger here, especially in Guillotine Leagues. All right, let's go to our sixth most chopped player. Another in a series of big names. Philadelphia running back Saquon Barkley appearing on this list for the second time this year. Utilization scores way up at 89 out of 100. He's got to go to Tampa and face Vita Vea, and then Denver, and then the Giants. Last week's median. You want to guess last week's median price on Saquon Barkley, Brian?
$580.
That's very close. Matt has guessed $550. The correct answer, $503. Nice job, guys. Although
which it shouldn't have been.
Rules,
it should not have been, but that's what I expected.
Yes, it's extremely high.
Now see how that turned out. For most.
Yep. Now, you and I were just talking earlier in this show. We max out at around $200 for elite players, of which Saquon Barkley obviously is. I think, Brian, it's safe to say nobody thought Saquon Barkley was likely to repeat last year's level of domination, but the drop-off through 3 weeks is also a lot worse than anybody expected. He's averaging 3.3 yards per carry, and he's got negative yards over expectation for Saquon Barkley. Lane Johnson's dinged up, their lineman. Hopefully he's able to go because this is a tough matchup coming up this week. But still, you got to figure if Saquon Barkley remains an elite option and an end game player, what are you bidding on Saquon Barkley, Brian?
Yeah, he's fallen victim to the tush push multiple times already. That was to be expected. Yep. Without that, he would be pretty money. But he is still an end game player. I'll push the cap on our end game budget. I'll say 200, and that's still a slip through the crack bid, but I'll make it. But that's about it. I'm not gonna that's the most I'm spending on anyone right now. So I will spend the max on Barkley though.
Yep. As a reminder, as you're thinking about blowing a lot of money on Saquon Barkley, and I'm right at you, I'm right around $200. Keep this in mind. To win your Guillotine League, you need to have 8 end game players. You can't spend $400 on one guy. You won't get to 8 end game players. We detailed this a lot last week on a previous episode of Chop. I mean, you're at the end of the day, you're looking at trying to spend about $120 per end game player to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to do much of anything else over the course of the season and just fill in some holes. So we won't get Saquon Barkley, and maybe that's okay. He's already appeared on this list twice. We're halfway through our top 10 most chopped players, Brian. Today's show entirely built around performances that did not live up to our expectations, but not with Xfinity. Introducing the 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Life is unpredictable, but the price of your internet should not be. Get a reliable price for a reliable connection. And when we say all in, we mean all in. Get Wi-Fi equipment, unlimited data, all included. Guillotine Leagues are about change, roster upheaval, constant improvement. But no matter what changes, for 5 years, the price of your internet is not changing. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. All right, Brian, let's get to our final 5 most chopped players. And coming in at number 5, New Orleans running back Alvin Kamara, a 14.6% chop rate, utilization score of 79 out of 100. The upcoming schedule at Buffalo, New York Giants, and then New England. That is a mixed bag, but some good news in there. Is Alvin Kamara an end game player? We had assumed he would be, but it hasn't worked out quite that way this year. What do you think, Brian?
Did we assume that? I don't. I think he could be if he gets traded, and that's
and he might. So he might be the Chiefs' running back.
He certainly might get traded, but
yes.
Without that, right now, no. But he's certainly startable for weeks to come, even on the Saints. It was a brutal matchup in Seattle, who they have like the best defense right now. So I don't fault and that New Orleans struggles on the offensive line with injuries. So it was a bad day for Kamara on Sunday. Saw 20 opportunities, though, carries and targets, as opposed to 9 from Kendre Miller, who was really only in the game because Seattle was getting the Saints were getting their brakes beat off. So I'm not reading too much into that. I still think Kamara is getting bell cow usage moving forward. Don't love the schedule really outside of New England and Chicago, that you got to go through Buffalo and New York to get there. Even though he's not an end game player, I consider him more of a mid-tier player. I'll break the budget and I will bid because he's valuable PPR wise. I'll bid 60 on Kamara because he's he's a tweener. I think you can ride him for 10 weeks. And if he gets traded, then value way up, you would think.
Yeah, and he might get traded, and the Chiefs would be the spot. I'm right in the same range you are. I had $75 on Kamara. I think he'll go for more. But here's the thing. Here's the part that's really troubling through these 3 games with Kellen Moore. In 2 of the 3 games, Kamara had 1 catch, and then in another game, 2 catches. He had a 6 catcher in between. But a 1 and 2 catch game is not what we had on the schedule for Kamara, and it's how he got here. And the reason I thought he was going to be an end game player was the safety that his receiving gave you. Every week it's 4, 5, 6 receptions and 50 yards, and I got 10 receiving points and all of his rushing. He's not really a goal line back, so you can't ever always count on the touchdowns. And I always thought that capped his upside and still do. But if the receiving is going to dry up, that makes Kamara much, much trickier, and it takes him out of in-game conversation. But we're only 3 games in. I don't want to overreact yet to one of the best pass-catching running backs really in the history of the NFL. And hopefully Kellen Moore will find more ways to get the ball to Alvin Kamara. Brian, who's eating Alvin Kamara's lunch right now? Who's mowing his lawn, as the kids used to say 15 years ago?
Juwan Johnson.
You got it. Juwan Johnson mowing his lawn or mowing his yard. What was the phrase? Was it mowing your yard? I think that was the phrase. Lawn. It was mowing the lawn. And I don't know why somebody was mowing lawns twice. I don't understand the reference really, but at any rate, Juwan Johnson, one of our favorite preseason sleepers.
I didn't mean to leave you on an island there. Sorry, but I never really uttered that phrase much, other than if you're stealing someone, isn't that how we use it? I don't want to mow your lawn.
Well, that's when you do somebody's you take somebody's angle. You mow their lawn, you take their, I don't know.
Back when I was a homeowner, I wouldn't have mind if someone was mowed my lawn.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, eat their lunch.
Sure.
Okay, let's go to our fourth most chop player, and it's New York Giants wide receiver Malik Nabers, a 14.6% chop rate. Utilization score way up at 87 out of 100. You'd rarely get a guy with this high of a utilization that shows up in the top 10 chop list. His upcoming schedule, not great. It's Chargers, that's a pretty good secondary, at New Orleans, and then Philadelphia. Last week's median price on Malik Nabers is $301, but suddenly we've got a whole new variable. It's not just Russell Wilson sucks, and man, did he mail in last week's game. Totally deserves to have been benched. Jackson Dart is your new starter, and here's my worry, Brian, and tell me if you share it. I don't want one of my receivers to have to go through the rookie learning curve at quarterback. I mean, look what JJ McCarthy did to Justin Jefferson for 2 weeks. He was the 37th most targeted wide receiver. I'm nervous about Dart, even though he looked pretty good in the preseason. What Dart's going to bring to the table is going to be great rushing, I think, more than passing. That's what worries me. What do you think about Malik Nabers here? It's a rare opportunity to get somebody who was pelted with targets through 2 weeks. And maybe this is a quarterback upgrade. There's a lot of moving parts with Malik Nabers. I'm fascinated to see what you think here.
It's definitely an upgrade. Like, speaking of utilization, who got utilized for the Giants against the Chiefs on Sunday night? Russell Wilson utilized the tunnel, threw one in the tunnel, intentional grounding to the locker room. The goalpost got some utilization on 4th and goal. When you throw it to somebody.
No kidding.
Yes, it is an upgrade for Nabers. But no, I'm not convinced. He's an end game talent. But to be a player at wide receiver, you need a somewhat competent quarterback, and I'm not convinced that Jackson Dart is that either. Time will tell. So I'm not gonna spend what I would normally spend on Nabers if, I don't know, he had a guy like maybe Daniel Jones as his quarterback. Could you imagine the Giants with Daniel Jones? But long story short,
impossible to consider.
I still want Nabers on roster for sure. I'll spend $120. Probably not going to get him, but because of the quarterback situation being somewhat murky, unless I throw in Jameis Winston, then I'm excited. But I don't know why they're not doing that. But anyway, $120 on Nabers for me.
I was originally lower. What I saw out of Jackson Dart, and he completed 75% of his preseason passes, which are really nice. Most of them were very short.
Week 14 for the Giants, by the way.
All right, that helps. That helps. I'm going to go up. I'm raising it to 110. I'm letting you influence me and talk me into a higher amount on Malik Nabers. Let's go to our third most chopped player.
There's a thread on Reddit about me, supposedly how cheap I am. So I hope they realize that I get some dap for talking you up in price, because that goes against everything that's being said about me. But thanks to the defenders out there, I have some.
Cincinnati wide receiver T. Higgins has a 15% chop rate. His utilization score is way down at 50 out of 100. And get a load of this schedule against the pass, Brian. You alluded to this with Chase Brown. It's worse as a receiver. At Denver, so here's your matchup with arguably the best set of cornerbacks in the league at Denver. Then you go Detroit, and then at Green Bay. This is a very, very difficult stretch. And of course, Cincinnati's got all the disadvantages that we've already talked about. Offensive line is a wreck. T. Higgins catching passes from a backup quarterback. Schedule's brutal. There just isn't a lot to like with T. Higgins. And I suspect you are going to be very, very cheap on him. I know I am too. I see him as a flex level starter, and that is it.
Flex level at best, even with 15 teams left in a Guillotine League. To no surprise, among top 35 wide receivers who were drafted according to ADP, he's one of 7 with a first read target share under 23%. We all know who the targets are going to. The targets are now coming from Jake Browning behind a bad offensive line. We've beaten this dead horse. Brutal schedule. I don't want to win. I'll be happy winning a bid for T. Higgins at $10. I don't know. I won't say happy. I'll be content with that.
I'm at $20 for T. Higgins, and that's all I can get you to. We talked about him in the preseason as somebody to avoid because there are these games where Jamar Chase just gets all the targets, and then Higgins he's trying to make do on 3 targets, and he gives you a dud game. Now that looks like, there's so many other factors compounding matters with T. Higgins. I can only get to $20 on him. By the way, I didn't mention his last week's median price on T. Higgins was $81. All right, the second most chopped player, and this is going to feel like a serious oddball, Brian, but I've got a theory about why Washington quarterback Jaden Daniels was the second most chopped player, and it's because a few people just asleep at the wheel and just, for whatever reason, didn't set a lineup or whatever, but I think really people tried to pivot to a quarterback who failed, whether it was Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, Jake Browning, Jordan Love, Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix. You all took L's on a lot of the players, the quarterbacks you would have pivoted to when Jaden Daniels, we finally found out on Friday, Jaden Daniels wasn't going to play. You went to one of these guys and they hurt your team. It looks like Daniels is going to come back, but he might be without Terry McLaurin in this next game. So this makes him very, very murky. What are you going to do with Jaden Daniels, Brian?
Hindsight is 2020, but the obvious swap was Marcus Mariota if you had Jaden Daniels because of the rushing floor. I mean, so if you didn't do that, I'm sorry. But anyway, Jaden Daniels still considered an end game player when healthy. Probably a little undervalued right now because of the injury, of course. So I am buying, and I'm going to be aggressive here because, again, even if he's not back this week or, he's a little slow, ramping him up to full speed or whatever, you can get by with another quarterback. So I'm kind of torn here. It's a lot he's a rushing quarterback, of course. Well, we hope he will be, but I'm going to go 100, and that's a lot for me at this point in the season.
Wow.
A quarterback. Taking somewhat of a risk, but 100 is not going to break the bank, and that could just be a huge payoff in the long run. And if it's not, I'm in a little bit of a hole, but not a huge one.
I can't pay $100 at the most replaceable spot in Guillotine Leagues. It's just, to me, it's just too much unless you are basically Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or...
We had Jaden Daniels right there, though.
We did. But what we didn't factor in enough was the history of injury. Slight of
what would
build.
you pay
He's
for Josh?
Been hurt.
Josh
hurt
Allen
again.
right now. I mean, there's a chance he's out there in some leagues. 200, right? You'd pay.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't pay half. You
Yeah.
don't see Jaden Daniels is half of. I know it's not that simple.
I'm not paying that much for a quarterback.
All right.
I can have Sam Darnold for $1.
You wish.
Last week's median price for Jaden Daniels was $101. So you are paying the public price for Jaden Daniels, which you never do, Brian. This is very unusual.
I don't pay retail.
The viewers on YouTube know the schedule, which I failed to mention. At Atlanta, at Chargers, and Chicago. You can see it on screen if you're watching on the Fantasy Life YouTube channel, which we recommend that you do. The number one most chopped player is, of course, CeeDee Lamb. No surprise here. 21% chop rate is gigantic. The utilization score is 70 out of 100. The upcoming schedule does not matter. Last week's median price, when he was obviously healthy, was $401. But the problem now is this looks to me to be, they've already given a total, it's a high ankle sprain. I think it looks like a worse than average high ankle sprain, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know that. And nobody has said that, but looking at the way that ankle got wrenched, Brian, I'm worried that this thing is going to be out like 4 weeks for CeeDee Lamb. And then when he comes back, there's no way he's going to be on a 100% ankle. When he comes back, he's going to be on an 80% ankle. And CeeDee Lamb, like most receivers, it's all about cutting, right? Trying to get separation on planting. And when you can't do that because your ankle doesn't have the stability, your separation goes down. So to me, the worry on CeeDee Lamb is 3 or 4 weeks before he's back on the field, and then a couple of weeks before you really feel like he's back to being himself.
Yeah, most players, even like bona fide wide receiver 2 types, like say a T. Higgins, he suffers an ankle injury like this. I'm not even paying attention to him in a Guillotine League, but you do have
he's out $0, right?
You do have to consider CeeDee Lamb because right now you have a spot or two on your bench that is essentially free, right? There's a guy sitting there that you're not really using. He's a stash. I'd rather stash CeeDee Lamb in that spot right now, even if it's for 6 weeks. You really don't need that spot until he's about ready to come back. How much I will bid is the question, and it's a good one. I'll be somewhat aggressive for a guy that's going to be on the shelf. I'll go 30 on CD just to stash him and hope he comes back at 90% in a month and a half.
Yep, I'm at $25 on CeeDee Lamb. All the same thinking here. He's so good that I'm willing to pick him up now. But if I need to drop him in 3 weeks, I need to be able to drop him without missing the cash. And at $25, okay. I mean, that's not gonna hurt me if I need to drop CeeDee Lamb between now and later on. It does appear the Cowboys will be trailing in every single game for 4 quarters for the rest of the year. This is shaping up as one of the all-time bad defenses. Man, they could really use a great edge rusher in Dallas. That would be so helpful.
And where does he play this week? Oh yeah, in Dallas, where he's told the Packers probably everything he knows about the Dallas defense.
That's right. Exactly. All right, we have an exciting new segment on this show. It is called "What You Biddin'." It's brought to you by Pristine Auctions. There's something for every fan. If you've already registered at Pristine, use code FANTASYLIFE when you win an item to receive $25 off at the checkout. If you're a first-time user, register your account using the code FL20. That's like Fantasy Life 20, FL20. And you get $20 in credits added to your account right there at Pristine Auction. We're going to zip through the 11 through 15 players. These are the players 11 through 15, most chopped players with instant bidding advice. These are just quick hitters, Brian.
Okay.
And I want to start with player number 11 because he's very notable. Las Vegas running back Ashton Jeanty. On Pristine Auctions, I'm seeing several PSA 10 graded cards, his rookie cards, generally in the $50 range. Might be a good time to buy low, and you can get 25% off, $25 off, or $20 off at Pristine Auctions, as just mentioned. Give me your quick twitch dollar amount on Ashton Jeanty for bidding purposes in Guillotine Leagues.
Well, I'm writing down that code because I'm going to use it. I'm going to go look for some Sam Darnold rookies. Ashton Jeanty, I was buying last week as an end game player. I'm still believing, even though he hasn't looked bad. The line for the Raiders
so bad,
brutal. They got the Bears this week though, so it's now or never. So he goes off against the Bears next week. He's not going to probably be available as a chop player, but his price will go up moving forward. One would think. So I think you can get him on the cheap now. I'll be aggressive at 180. I won't max out my. He's still an end game player to me. I gotta believe. I have faith in the rookie, but 180.
Yep, I'm 125 on Ashton Jeanty. Jamar Chase, Cincinnati receiver Jamar Chase is the 12th most chopped player. Instant reaction.
I can't go the max 200 just because Jake Browning, but the line is so bad. But there's going to be a lot of garbage time. I'm gonna push the limits. I'll go 185 on Chase.
All right, what you bidding? 185, Jamar Chase.
You?
I will. Yeah, I will. I'm going to go 160 on Jamar Chase. All right, what you bidding on Juwan Jennings? San Francisco wide receiver.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk looming comeback. Ricky Pearsall, baller. George Kittle will come back. Christian McCaffrey, of course, soaks up targets. I like Juwan Jennings, but he's a $1 to me right now. Not that interested in Juwan Jennings at all.
Yeah, I love the guy. He's constantly hurt. And I don't need that on my fantasy team. I'm at $5 and Juwan Jennings. All right. New York Jets running back Breece Hall. What you bidding?
Oh, the Jets. Well, they almost had an exciting comeback. They did. I like the matchup this week against Miami. That's fantasy gold right there. Not an end game player is Breece Hall, but I still think he is still an RB2, especially in Guillotine Leagues. I'll bid I bid $90 on Breece because he will catch passes. He didn't do a lot against the Bucs, but I think he'll catch plenty of passes moving forward. So I like Breece at 90.
90. Okay. You're more optimistic about the Jets offense, I think, in general than I probably am. I'm more at about $50 for Breece Hall. All right. Last one. What you bidding on Green Bay tight end Tucker Kraft? This is a tricky one. Tucker Kraft, you can make a case he's tight end number 1 overall. He was the 15th most chopped player last week. What are you going to do here?
We saw we didn't touch on Mark Andrews, by the way, who, we talked about what he did last year. He did the exact same thing, dud, then goes off. But Andrews had a dud against the Browns. That's who Tucker Kraft played last week. Before he had that mysterious injury, in practice, everyone was hyping him as tight end 1. And I think he'll get back to that status. I'm just going to put the Browns game in the rear view. At such a thin position, Tucker Kraft still desirable, potential end game player at the position. I won't call him one just yet, but I'll break the budget for my intermediate guys, and I'll go 55 on Tucker Kraft.
I'm going 150 on Tucker Kraft, and I'm solving my tight end problem that most of our viewers and listeners have got right now. Tucker Kraft 150. All right, the final stanza of every one of our shows, and thank you, Pristine Auctions. Glad to have you aboard, and we encourage people again. Use code FANTASYLIFE if you've already registered with Pristine, and you get to win an item at $25 off at checkout. And if you're a first-time user, use the code FL20 to get $20 in credits added to your account, pristineauction.com. Final stanza is regular guys off the waiver wire. And I want to start with one guy off the waiver wire in many leagues that is not going to be $1, $2, $5. Trey Benson. With James Conner's tragic season ender, Trey Benson moves into a workhorse role in the Cardinals offense. And coming out of college, I really liked Benson. He's basically a power back with some wiggle and some decent speed. And he's averaging 6 yards a carry to this point of the season. He can catch a little bit too. He is going to be expensive to get if Trey Benson's available in your league. What do you think about him, Brian? Where you go? How much you coming in on Trey Benson?
Yeah, if you're doing a draft right now, Benson is easily considered a top 15 running back moving forward. Yes,
I think
we just been waiting for this opportunity for him. It came due to unfortunate circumstances to James Conner, but what are you going to do? But Benson, I saw among the leaders in expected yards over expectation. I love that offense. Outside of Marvin Harrison Jr.
You love the Cardinals offense.
Well, I love it, but it's a good fit for him. I don't know. I love that he's going to be a bell cow for him. So I'm not going to bid a hundo, but I bid 80 on Benson. I mean, just on the usage. If I'm desperate running back, which many are right now, more people are more desperate at wide receiver. Come to think of it, but I would go 100 on Benson if I really needed a running back. But I think he's going to probably go for more than that. But I'm not going to pay it.
All right. Understood. I would go 175 on Trey Benson because I believe Trey Benson is going to be an end game player.
Well, you seem like you're just giving me crap that I thought the Cardinals offense was good, but that seems like you love the Cardinals offense if you're going 170.
No, I think Trey Benson, I don't think that's a very good offense. I think it's a bottom tier offense, bottom third of the league offense, but nevertheless, that's the starting workhorse running backs are hard to come by, and he is going to be an absolute workhorse. All right, let me hit you with a couple other quick guys, and we've only got about 30 seconds per guy, Brian.
All right.
Geno Smith gets to face the Bears this week, and he's just coming off a 3-touchdown game. The Bears have given up a league worst 8 passing touchdowns. I think you could throw a buck on Geno Smith, keep him as your backup quarterback on roster, and maybe start him this week.
No doubt, definitely streamable. There are teams out there, if they survived, would probably rolled the dice on Jake Browning last week or something like that. Geno, very solid start this week. I would maybe put $2 on him just to make sure I got him if I needed a quarterback to start this week. I love Geno.
And a lot of people do. I mean, between bad quarterback play and all the injuries, many people do need a quarterback right now. Okay, let's talk Woody Marks, the Houston running back, already getting meaningful work. Now, Nick Chubb has looked fine and maybe even good, but Woody Marks has better hands, which is important. And I could see him developing into an Austin Eckler style guillotine contributor where he's the backup, but he's the third down guy, and he's going to end up chipping in 10 PPR points most every week. I think Woody Marks, and anything happens to Nick Chubb, he'd walk right into the starting job. I think Woody Marks belongs on rosters, and I'm ready to pay $20 on Woody Marks in the hopes that he is an Austin Eckler-like producer for my team.
I wouldn't go as high, but I'm in the teens. I'll go 15. I'm with you. I mean, that line is so bad for the Texans that Nick Chubb is going to struggle all year. So there's going to be a lot of third down work for Marks and hopefully a lot of dump offs coming his way because the Texans are an absolute mess. So yeah, I think Woody's going to get some nice garbage time production this year out of the backfield, catching some balls.
All right, I just got a couple more guys for you. Let's stay in Houston. Wide receiver Christian Kirk finally made his return from his month-long hamstring injury. He didn't do a lot, but his playing time and 8 targets firmly cement Christian Kirk as Houston's number 2 wide receiver. He's going to face the Titans this week. The Titans have got a decent slot cornerback in Roger McCreary. So, whether or not you want to start Kirk with this week, I think is not really the story on this. I think it's easy to envision Christian Kirk as the number 2 receiving option as getting you 10 PPR points most weeks. And that could be pretty helpful for the next month or so.
Yeah, I throw a couple bucks on him. I don't trust him to stay healthy, sadly, as a guy who just adds and drops Christian Kirk at will in other leagues. But let me throw. I like a option. Hunter Renfrow is a guy I like. Throw $0 on Hunter Renfrow at the Patriots this week. Piss poor secondary.
That's a good start for this week. He's been he's basically turned into what last year's Adam Thielen was in that offense, and somebody that's been a shockingly consistent producer for them. All right, I just want to give you one more guy. All right. CeeDee Lamb's going to miss a month. The Cowboys are going to be trailing in every game. They're going to have to throw like crazy. Does Jalen Tolbert do anything for you? See, maybe not this week against Green Bay, but looking forward. Is he somebody you want to pick up?
Probably not this week in Green Bay, but there could be a lot of prevent coverage by the Packers in the second half of that game. So maybe but yeah, I mean, to me, Tolbert kind of always passed the eye test for, what we expected of him. At least I think he can play, and he's going to see some targets with CeeDee on the shelf. So I throw a buck on Tolbert. Week 7 bye for the Cowboys. So I think he is flex worthy for the next month.
Yeah, I think Tolbert is going to be a sneaky little helper for all the reasons that you just mentioned.
Dallas is going to be throwing. They're going to be throwing. Yeah.
You can get a longer, more complete list of available regular guys at fantasylife.com. Every Tuesday, I've got a waiver wire article. It's long. It talks about all the kinds of bidding advice that you need to have for a lot of different scenarios. We encourage you to check that out at fantasylife.com. And as a reminder, you can always create a new Guillotine League, even if you start now. Every week, you can start a new Guillotine League if you would like to at guillotineleagues.com. All right, Brian, great job this week. We'll talk to you next week for more bidding advice, cheap-ass bidding advice with Brian Johnson. And hopefully he'll be wearing something a little classier than the back in the front Sam Darnold.
Oh, come on now. This is going to bring him back crisscross for those who know. If you know, you know.
Not Christopher Cross. Totally different.
No,
totally different. Absolutely. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you on Thursday for Flex and Find Out. Bye-bye.